And we are back. Firstly, happy Halloween to all who celebrate. And as we wrap up our 31-day countdown to Halloween, we ended our run with 80s horror. On Wednesday, we did Evil Dead 2. Yesterday, we did The Howling. And tonight on Halloween, we are wrapping up our 31 days with John Carpenter's seminal piece of sci-fi horror, The Thing from 1982. This is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. We caught this on DVD, but it's available on AMC Plus, Peacock, and to buy rent on Prime Video. This comes to us from screenwriter Bill Lancaster from a story by John W. Campbell Jr. entitled Who Goes There? According to the IMDb blurb, a research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. We started out the month with The Thing from Another World, which John Carpenter actually highlighted as obviously influential for this particular piece of his. Here, though, I think the student is the master because Carpenter takes the story and repurposes themes of fear of others, contagion, the Cold War. They're all thrown in here to create what I feel like is Carpenter's masterpiece.
I would agree 100%. The original movie is okay. We discussed it on the first day of Halloween. But that
this is next level.
It just blows it out of the water. Whereas in the first, or not the first one, but whereas in the Thing from Another World, you do also have that Cold War type mentality going on in the film. There's a more, I would say, outward threat. It's this giant of a man monster with clawed fingers trying to break into this base. And in this one, you're dealing with something that's far more insidious because you really just don't know who to trust. The people that you've known, the people that you're working with, you don't know they could possibly be the Thing because this creature mimics what it wants to kill. And from what I understand, that's more in tune with the original story where the creature was a shapeshifter. And this, it's done so well. The way it's shot, the tension, it just rises. The reaction shots from people, the close-ups on people's faces as things are going on. There's a specific scene where they're testing the blood. And there's a lot of shots of just the close-ups of everybody just waiting for that hot needle to touch their blood and see what happens.
Right.
And you don't know. And you think, oh, this guy's going to get it. This guy's going to get it. And the needle goes in and it's just nothing. And then suddenly out of nowhere, and you have that and There's actually a part in the film where MacReady is alone in one of the offices in the barrack or whatever, the lab that they're at, and he's recording a message that he intends to hide because he doesn't know how this is all going to turn out.
Right.
And at the very end of the message, he's like, "Nobody trusts anybody. We're all just tired." Yeah. And you hear it in his voice and you see it in his demeanor, and it's just that's how it was. Throughout the movie, it's just they're dealing with something that's just beyond terrible. It truly is just a great piece of horror.
Yes, absolutely. I want to jump back, I should say, to the beginning of the film, which to me is one of the most amazing sequences because there is no dialogue, not really.
No.
And yet so much is conveyed in mood, in atmosphere. We're not going to talk about the credits because I think when you and I were talking before, you mentioned how you kind of wish that something else that you see in the original opening sequence or the title sequences isn't there. So I'm going to start from frame 1, which is just Arctic, white snow, dog, helicopter.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, there's this helicopter chasing a dog, and from the start, you have this sense of dread, unease, and just this difficulty understanding why this dog is being chased with the intent to harm and or kill, right?
Yeah. I think it's you kind of wondering what's going on, but then you see the guy pull out a freaking gun.
Right.
And he's trying to shoot this dog. Yeah.
And I got the sense that the dog was scared. It was running. It was trying to fight for its life. And so it's trying to escape. And all of this is like, I think the other brilliant thing is that we come to find out that the people in the helicopter are Norwegians, which is amazing because the first obstacle here is language and communication. The people in the helicopter cannot communicate to the American team on this research center what is going on. So these two Norwegians die, and we still don't know what the hell happened, what is going on. So the doctor and McCready decide to go to their base.
The Norwegian base. And this dog is now been welcomed into the American camp. Yeah.
There's a character named Clark who seems to be like the dog wrangler and in charge of the dogs. And we get the sense that he's watching out after this dog. However, the dog is just roaming free.
Yeah, he never put it in the kennel.
He never puts it in the kennel until like the second day, right?
Yeah.
And then we jump back to the Doctor and McCready kind of exploring the Norwegian camp, which is just basically demolished.
Yeah, it's all burnt out. Everybody inside is dead. And not just dead, but horrifically dead. Like There's a guy in a chair who somehow managed to slice both his wrists and cut about an inch into his own throat.
Yes.
This guy was determined to kill himself.
And then other things are revealed. Other things are shown that were discovered, I guess, within this area through journals and videotapes and stuff. So now we're kind of given an idea of what's going on. And I think...
Yeah. I feel like that, like what you described, I feel like that should have been the opening without the... Because prior to the title, where you see the title burn in on the screen, which also is an homage to the original
yes.
thing from another planet, you see a spacecraft.
From another world. We always say another planet.
Yeah, from a spacecraft from another world, teetering as it makes its way towards Earth orbit and then burn up on, I guess, in the atmosphere. And when I was a little kid, I didn't see that. I never saw that part. So when I was a little kid, the movie basically began with that title sequence and the dog. So I always liked the fact that you were finding out what was actually happening as the guys from the Arctic Research Center were finding out. And then you realize, oh my God, these Norwegians unearthed an alien spaceship, and there was a creature stuck in the ice. You see that huge ice block with the empty space in the middle of it, and you're kind of figuring out what's going on. And even then, you don't know really. But then Clark puts that dog away, and you see what
happens,
what we're dealing with, and it is gruesome.
Gruesome, yes.
It is gruesome. All credit to Rob Bottin,
yeah,
and his crew. This was like the pinnacle of 80s sci-fi practical effects.
Absolutely. And still kind of holds up. I mean, some of it looks a little dated and whatever.
There are a couple of little things that probably wouldn't pass muster now, but
still looks good for the most part.
95% of those effects are great.
Yes.
And just disgusting, just gooey things spraying, the way like things. There was a couple of sequences where a thing bursts open and then all these like flagellating little vine sort of tentacles start squirming everywhere. And it's like, that is from the deepest part of somebody's nightmare. It's just great. It really is. And the reactions of the guys in the station, they're just like, what is that? Oh my God. Completely feasible. Trigger warning. There are a bunch of dogs that are not really harmed, but harmed in the movie. In the story.
Obviously, they're puppets.
Obviously, yeah. They're obviously. I mean, there's certain parts where you're like, oh yeah, that's totally a puppet. Yes, for some people who find that may not be able to tolerate that. There's a trigger warning there for you. But overall, it's amazing. It is just simply amazing. And then once that happens, like the real crazy horror begins, because then it's not just, oh, there's a monster, but it's a monster that could possibly be you or you or you. We don't know.
Right.
And we're finding them out as we're going along, because suddenly somebody is like enveloped by something, and then they disappear, and then they sort of look normal, but there's something wrong with them. And Blair, the Wilford Brimley
character, yeah, who's just fantastic.
Who's just great. He's another guy who does like sort of like weary. I mean, he he always seemed weary and annoyed, and even in like those Quaker Oats commercials. It's like, eat your damn Quaker Oats. But in this, he's great. He's the one who's like figures out how this creature works, how it assimilates its host, and
what the implications of it.
What the implications of it getting out onto the mainland, which is why he goes berserk and he just destroys all communication
and
all means of transportation, because he knows it could be one of us already.
Right.
It could be one of us already. And that's like one of the things that I love about this particular alien, is that it's not just, and it's something that I feel was screwed up on later, I wouldn't say adaptation, but spin-offs. Like they released a movie where it was like what happened on the base, the Norwegian base. And that one kind of bothered me because they didn't understand how the alien worked. They really just didn't understand it. And the thing that makes the alien crazy is that it could basically take over a person by just putting a small particle of itself in that person. So that person could be completely fine and dandy, and then suddenly they're just not them anymore. They're one of the things. And that's the thing that's like, so you can't even, like the paranoia, it's not just a paranoia of something on the outside. It's not just a paranoia of the people that surround you, but it's a paranoia of yourself, of what you might be, because you may be infected and not even know it.
Right.
They were saying, given the way this thing spreads, everybody should be preparing their own food and eating out of cans only.
Right.
So this thing is like incredibly insidious, and the level of just who is a thing, am I a thing? It's really hyped up, and Carpenter does a great job of filming this, because you can have that kind of story, but unless you're doing the things that he does with the close-ups and the lighting and the shadows and the framing, it just adds to it so much. And then on top of that, with all this brilliant visuals, you have that great soundtrack.
Oh, yes.
Which is like a very minimalist soundtrack. It's just like almost like just like bass notes, dun dun dun, and it's just really creepy as hell.
Yeah,
it's just creepy as hell. And I thank God that John Carpenter didn't do the soundtrack himself. God love him. He does his own soundtrack and a lot of stuff.
His music wouldn't have played here. But his
music is the epitome of like 80s cheese, synth metal cheese, and this would have. Oh my God, that would have been so bad if he was allowed to score it himself. This was scored by the great Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you mentioned before and highlight a sequence when Norris, I guess, has his heart attack and is on the table with the doctor working on him.
Yeah.
I think one of the geniuses of the film is that it uses practical effects, and then 1982, this is the height of FX. I remember seeing this in the theater and just being gobsmacked at how terrifying that sequence is, because the alien or the organism is going to make its appearance. So the film uses practical effects to make this sense of paranoia about identity and contagion visually explicit, right?
Yeah.
You see it. You see it.
Yeah. This isn't a metaphor.
It isn't, exactly. And to your point, how this sense of mistrust, who do you trust? He looks like my coworker that I've been here with for the last 6 months, but is he really? Because these things
I mean, as far as we could tell, Norris was just doing his job
Right.
up until the part where he has his heart issue.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's just his chest is a freaking bear trap. Oh my God. And then
Poor doctor.
when his head like just slithers off the table and onto the floor.
Gross. And grows those
stalk,
spider legs.
basically becomes some kind of like spider.
Ugh.
But like just the grossness of the effects with like the stretching and the ripping of the skin and then like the bubbling out of like yellowy fluids.
Amazing.
It's just stunning. It's amazing. And from what I understand, it's like, a lot of people think, well, that's one of the reasons why it didn't do well at the box office. Because this shockingly it barely made its money back from what I understand. It was not considered a hit. People didn't like it. And as a kid, when I first saw it, I was just in love with this movie. I loved all of that stuff. But I guess the adult sensibilities were just...
Yeah. Well, this unfortunately came out the same year as E.T., which was a huge juggernaut at the box office.
Yeah.
I think people
were trying to make aliens friendly.
Yes. And I think people were we were in a recession, Reaganomics, all that other stuff. We were having our bitter Cold War with the Russians. And so I think people were using the theater as escapism. So you didn't want to go to the theater to be more incensed about the world around you, which maybe is why this film didn't do well. I agree with you. Since I've seen this film, I have had such an awe and appreciation for this. And as we've highlighted in the past, Carpenter is the best of us. He has done some really incredible work and nothing more amazing than this particular film, which I think is his piece de résistance. It is just amazing from top to bottom. 1982, 43 years later, and we're still having this talk because this is seminal, not only in sci-fi, but in horror. This is tagged as alien invasion, body horror, monster horror, psychological horror, supernatural horror, suspense, absolutely all of that. All of that and more. I think if you are a film student, run and do not walk and check out this piece of just incredible storytelling because it still holds up. It is still amazing. It is still just vibrant and impactful, and the messaging still lands.
Yeah.
If I was going to give this a score from 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 10 because you cannot improve on perfection.
Yeah, I'd give this like a 9.9 because nothing's perfect.
Which rounded up is a 10. Yeah. What is wrong with you?
Nothing's perfect.
I disagree.
But this is close. This is a great movie. I love this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
I watch it every year. I mean, as somebody growing up with this movie, I would constantly watch it. And I would constantly try and figure out like the vector path that the thing took. Like, who did it affect first? Like, how did it get from this guy to that guy? I don't know if that's even possible, but it's still fun to try and figure out. And those effects,
they still hold up.
Gooey, so just gross. Kurt Russell, we wouldn't even mention him. He's amazing in this, just weary and angry and throughout the whole thing. Yeah, I just want to go to my shack and get drunk. Everybody's really good. Every character is given just enough time to get a sense of their personality. You got the magnificent Keith David with his amazing voice.
Yes.
And we didn't even mention the ending. Let's just sit here a while and see what happens.
Yes. Just magnificent from top to bottom. And I think I mentioned this to you while we were watching the film. I've seen this many, many times. And still, as a viewer, I'm still sitting there hopeful for a different outcome. And I know what's going to happen, but yet part of me is like, please be okay. Please be okay. I think watching Benning's demise this time kind of impacted me more than usual. It was interesting because if he had been given just a little bit more time to morph into Benning 2.0, I don't think anybody would have been any the wiser of what was going on.
Right.
So it is such an amazing piece of storytelling, and what a way to wrap up the month. I think from where we started to where we ended up, it was so nice to bookend this particular month, starting with The Thing from Another World and ending it with Carpenter's The Thing, which is an homage to that particular film, which he'd seen as a child. I think we watched an interview with him, and We mentioned how it's interesting to see filmmakers tell these really gorgeous horror things that obviously are influenced by their idols, and then how later on, like this came out in 82, 43 years ago, and yet you see how this film has influenced other films and continues to be so important in the storytelling, not just even horror, but just storytelling genre in general, where they've had reboots or retellings of this particular story. So kudos to John Carpenter for taking this piece of work and just making something that will live on forever, hopefully, and will be seen over and over again by many other people. I think it's just, I'm constantly in awe and amazed by this film. All right, before we wrap it up, we want to ask everyone to please like, share, and subscribe, and support our friend KT, who's raising money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Such a great cause. And in spooky season, stay safe, have fun, and happy Halloween from all of us. Enjoy the day. And with that, we'll wrap it up, and we'll come back soon with another review.
Good night.
Good night.